Shana Tova and Gudyantiv. Many of you who are behind in reading your synagogue mail might be saying to yourself at this point, why is he speaking again? Didn't he speak on Yom Kippur the past 2 years? The answer is yes, I did. But I was having such a good time being president that I am serving a third term. A term which ends on May 15th, 2018, a day which is only 227 days away, but who's counting? But I would like to add that I'm not the first president to serve more than 2 terms, as there have been many such lucky individuals. The record holder by a long shot is David W. Simons, who was president for an amazing 12 consecutive years, from 1908 to 1920. By the way, Mr. Simons deserves our respect for many other accomplishments, including the fact that in 1895 he was one of the founders of the Hebrew Free Loan Society, and in 1899 he was the first president of United Charities, the organization which eventually became our current Jewish Federation. I have a message to deliver, but I would be remiss if I did not first thank Shaarey Shapiro and her staff and our wonderful clergy for everything that they do to make this synagogue the special place that it is. And of course, I want to thank the many volunteers who work so very hard and give so much of their time to this congregation, especially the Board of Trustees and my fellow officers, Jerry Fishman, Janice Stoneman, Rob Goodman, Rick Cohn, and Susan Koza-Klein. Our congregation has survived for 156 years because the members and leaders of each generation were able to overcome the challenges that they faced. These challenges varied significantly from generation to generation. At the conclusion of Simchas Torah services on September 27, 1861, 17 of the 40 families comprising the Bethel Society, the first Jewish congregation in Detroit, resigned to form Shaarey Zedek. They left because of certain reforms which were being instituted at Bethel, such crazy and outlandish ideas as a choir mixed with men and women, and women sitting on the same floor as men instead of in a balcony. So you can see that our congregation's resistance to change has a long history. After becoming a congregation in 1861, they moved 6 times in 101 years until they landed here in Southfield 55 years ago. This journey required extraordinary leadership, sacrifice, and dedication. They raised money in the most difficult of times to pay for new buildings, including during the Great Depression. However, notwithstanding the financial challenges they faced, each move in each new building was actually a sign of success, as in each case they moved to a larger building from a building which was too small to accommodate their growing congregation. When the congregation moved into this building 55 years ago, Shaarey Zedek was on a roll. In the first few years after moving here, 450 new families joined, the majority between the ages of 25 and 45. However, the Jewish community and this congregation have changed dramatically in the past 20 years, and the situation we face is much different than what was faced by earlier generations. Now, in some ways, our situation today is actually much easier and less challenging. After all, we are not burdened with the need to create a new denomination to compete with the Orthodox and Reform movements, as we were when we helped found the conservative movement in 2013. We do not need to build a cemetery because the Clover Hill Cemetery, which we opened 100 years ago in 1917, is the most beautiful cemetery in the city. We do not have to worry about outgrowing our building, and even though the building may be actually larger than we need, the size of our building and the size of our sanctuary and our social halls have made this facility a vital and necessary venue for the entire community, as almost every large Jewish event or gathering of a Jewish organization, and numerous classes and programs take place here. We also do not need to move our sanctuary to be closer to our members, which was one of the reasons why they moved in the past. In fact, every day as the Jewish community moves east and south, our location becomes better and better. In addition, we are not burdened by an outdated building in disrepair because in the past 5 years, we have made significant progress in modernizing and updating our building. For example, we have renovated the school wing to create the Berman Center for Jewish Education, thanks to a gift from the Mandel and Madeline Berman Foundation. We installed a new air conditioning system with a new 350-ton chiller. We upgraded the electrical service, and we just completed the installation of a new security system. With the support of the Louis C. and Edith Bloomberg Foundation and trustees Aline and Graham Landau of blessed memory, we have constructed the beautiful Bloomberg Boardroom and the adjacent gallery space. With the support of Dorothy Gerson and the William Davidson Foundation, we constructed the new William Salson Pavilion out in the courtyard, which provides us a wonderful venue for our Friday night services and other programs. We have renovated Rabbi Starr's office and the clergy suite thanks to a gift from my mother, Eileen Nemer of blessed memory. And due to the success of our fundraising campaign, we have just completed the renovation of the lobby thanks to a gift from Henrietta and Alvin Weisberg of blessed memory. And we will be renovating our 2 social halls in the near future thanks to the generosity of the children of Suzanne and Joseph Orley of blessed memory and of Doreen Hermelin and the children of Doreen and David Hermelin of blessed memory. In addition to these significant advantages, which we have today, we are fortunate to have a clergy team comprised of talented, creative, and inspiring professionals that enjoy working together as a team. We also have a solid base of 1,000 families, and we are attracting new members every day. And of greatest importance, we have a congregation that is a community, a group of families that have celebrated together, worshiped together, and mourned together, connected to each other and to the preceding generations by a thread of memories and a long tradition of service to the Jewish community and to Israel. So with all of that going for us, what is the challenge of our generation? The challenge we face arises from a change in how Jews feel about synagogue membership. My generation and those preceding it grew up with the understanding that one of the things you did when you became an adult, and especially when you had children, was join a synagogue. This obligation was not questioned. But today things are different. One of the changes which has occurred is that many Jews, and in particular young Jews, do not feel the same sort of obligation to join a synagogue. But this does not mean that they do not feel Jewish. In fact, many of those who are not affiliated with a synagogue still practice many of the Jewish customs. According to the 2010 census of Detroit, while only 46% of Jewish households in Detroit are affiliated with a synagogue, 77% of Jewish households have a mezuzah on the front door, and 82% of Jewish households participate in a Seder every year. And these same Jews who do not wish to join are eager to participate in the many programs that we offer, all of which are usually open to non-members. So it is not necessarily the synagogue or the Judaism which they are rejecting, it is the commitment involved in membership. The decline in affiliation also does not mean that the synagogue is less important to our community, as the need for a strong synagogue is as great as ever. For most Reform and conservative Jewish families, the synagogue is the place where children learn about Jewish customs, traditions, and values, and how to live a Jewish life. The synagogue is also where life cycle events take place, which have a huge impact on the family. The synagogue is also a place of healing and support for those who are faced with the death or serious illness of a loved one. And a strong synagogue benefits the entire Jewish community. Our amazing Jewish Federation protects and supports the Jews of our community but Federation is run by individuals, many from here, who acquired their Jewish identities, who learned how to be Jewish at a synagogue. So even though we have so much going for us, we are faced with the economic reality that has become more difficult to rely upon membership dues as the primary source of revenue. Yet we want and we need this synagogue to survive for future generations. Our generation may not need to build a new building, but we do need to finish modernizing our existing building, and we do need to build an endowment which will ensure that this synagogue will be here to serve future generations. These are the obligations of this generation. In my address on Yom Kippur last year, I announced that we were embarking upon a campaign to raise the funds required to achieve these goals. Since that date, a small group under the leadership of past presidents Alan Schwartz, Greg Orley, Yael Levin, Steve Weisberg, and Rabbi Starr has been working behind the scenes to secure the leadership gifts that will serve as the foundation of this campaign. I am pleased to report that we have already been successful in obtaining leadership gifts from 30 families, raising a total of more than $6.5 million. In a moment, Rabbi Starr will honor these families, but I want to personally give my thanks to them for their leadership and generosity. But we have a long way to go, and in order to achieve our goals, we are inviting the other members of our congregation to make a contribution to this effort to secure our future. We will be working the entire year to raise the funds we need, and we hope to celebrate the success of our efforts at the next annual meeting, which, as I mentioned earlier, is only 227 days away, but 15 minutes closer than when I last mentioned it. But who's counting? The rabbi tells his congregation, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that we have enough money to pay for our new building program. The bad news is it's still out there in your pockets. Finally, with all of this talk of financial resources, building improvements, and membership trends, it is easy to lose sight of the extraordinary acts of kindness and generosity that emanate from this community and the positive impact that our programs and especially our clergy can have on our members. Occasionally, people are kind enough to send notes expressing their gratitude for what the congregation has done for them. Last year, I closed by reading a moving email from a woman in our congregation describing how this synagogue has had such a meaningful impact on her life. After my speech last year, I received an equally beautiful note from her daughter, which I would like to share with you, and I hope she doesn't mind. So I'm reading. As I sat in my shul yesterday afternoon, as a child who grew up at Shaarey Zedek, as a teenager who was confirmed at Shaarey Zedek, as a bride who walked down the aisle at Shaarey Zedek, as a singer who was performed on the bima at Shaarey Zedek, and now as a mother of a son whose bar mitzvah will be at Shaarey Zedek in 2017. I felt closer than ever to Hashem as I sat with my husband, my children, and 3 generations of my family, listening to Rabbi Starr's eloquent and powerful sermon, the soul-moving voice of Cantor Propus, and the heart-touching music of the choir conducted so beautifully by Brandon. The tears I felt welling up in my eyes the entire service were somewhat expected given my reflections upon the blessings and miracles I've been given in my life, and upon the health struggles of my family and of my dear friends this past year. What I didn't expect were the tears that streamed from my eyes during your speech. I am the daughter of the extraordinary mother who wrote the letter you talked about yesterday. I am the daughter who dreamed of attending Ramah Seminar in Israel and Hebrew University in Israel, but whose mother did not have the money to send her. I am the daughter whose mother reached out to Shaarey Zedek for help to make those dreams a reality. As my mother and I realized you were reading from her letter, we both cried a very emotional cry and held each other tight in appreciation and love for each other. All of those seated around us realized we were holding each other in tears, and they warmly recognized my mother as the truly exceptional mother she is. I'm not at all surprised she wrote to Zedek to let you know how appreciative she is of her shul. Now it is my turn to be sure you know how appreciative I am that we felt our shul so profoundly yesterday. I would like to end by wishing you, the fellow members of my shul, a happy and healthy new year.